Rightio, then it's 5 o'clock here in Salford. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you happen to be in the world. It's the BBG with you for the next, well, I don't know how long. Do tweet at the programme, it's at BBG Richie. Do tweet me, love to hear your thoughts today on a wide range of topics. Let's get on with Wednesday's programme.
It's the BBG, not the BBC. You're listening to the Richie Allen Radio Show, live from Salford in Greater Manchester.
It's the Richie Allen Show, broadcasting live on richieallen.co.uk and multiple platforms around the world. And now, here's your host, Richie Allen.
Yes, I do say a wide range of topics because it's me and you today flying solo this Wednesday, the 17th of February. Misha Augustusa. Yeah, me and you. So do drop me a tweet and we'll talk about anything and everything today. So much going on as usual. Let's just get straight to it. What sort of a Wednesday are you having? You all right, are you? We're basking in the northwest in this very mild weather. It's lovely. Isn't it lovely? Getting out and about. Bit rainy. Bit of rain around today. But otherwise, can't complain at all. Can't complain at all. Prince Philip is in hospital. The 99-year-old husband of the Queen. Did you see that today? Interesting enough, a few of you are tweeting about it because he had the vaccine, didn't he? Or at least the first dose of the vaccine. Now, I know there is widespread scepticism as to whether he had it or not, and whether the Queen had it or not, but he's been admitted to hospital. Let's hear for the crack the BBC Royal correspondent, a guy called Nicholas Witchell.
As ever, I think, Simon, the first thing to say is that there is no sense of alarm that certainly we can detect. It is, as you've mentioned, a precautionary measure, according to Buckingham Palace. It is not COVID-related. He'd been feeling unwell for several days, so on the advice of his doctors, mindful, of course, that he is just 4 months short of his 100th birthday. So on the advice of his doctors, he was driven from Windsor into London to the King Edward VII Hospital. It was not, we're told, an emergency admission. He walked into the hospital, and he is, as you've mentioned, according to Buckingham Palace, in good spirits. The Queen is remaining at Windsor, where, of course, they've both been in self-isolation together with a few of their officials, and according to Buckingham Palace, the Duke is expected to remain in hospital for a few days of what they're describing as observation and rest.
Lucifer is fuming down there in hell. Thought he'd bagged a big one. Had the vaccine. Many people believe he didn't have the vaccine. Who knows, really? He'll be right as rain, though. He walked in. He'll be right as rain when he's hooked up to that adrenochrome drip. That's a good one. I see a lot of that around today. Do you believe that? Do let me know, by the way. It's a funny one. The adrenochrome conspiracy theory that a secret child trafficking ring is used to extract adrenochrome from little children. I'm not dismissing it now. I've been around too long. I've interviewed too many people about too many things. I never dismiss out, because you never know, do you? And I know that child trafficking rings are real. I know that satanic ritual abuse is certainly real. You just never know. I'm not saying now for a minute that I believe that this guy has gone to hospital to get a top-up of adrenochrome. I'm not saying that at all. 4.5 minutes past 5 o'clock. Speaking of OAPs, this might be of relevance to you. It might not be of any relevance to you. But the BBC announced today that it would give over 75s more time to pay their TV licence. How nice of them. The pandemic, you see, is hitting people in the pocket. It's worrying people. The BBC said that over 75s don't need to worry about being prosecuted for the time being. Yeah, won't say too much more on that. And diarrhea has been added to the list of symptoms even that could be coronavirus. Did you see this today? Diarrhea has been added to the list of symptoms that might mean that you have coronavirus. They also listed tiredness. They add new symptoms almost by the week. things that might be coronavirus. Hearing voices, of course, most famously could be coronavirus. Diarrhea added to the list today. I'm rounding up some of these stories as quick as I can. You might want to get into them, you might not. Tiredness is a symptom. I must be riddled with coronavirus. Then you must be riddled with coronavirus. We're all tired now of the way things have been going for the last year or so. Reports around today that lockdown won't fully end until the country goes below 1,000 cases a day. Did you see this? Most of the broadsheet newspapers went with this today. Most of the news programmes led with this today. The notion that lockdown won't fully end until we are reporting on less than 1,000 cases a day here in the UK. And I don't think that's possible myself, with the dodgy PCR test and all of that the country would ever drop below 1,000 cases a day. And Captain Tom Moore's daughter has been on television today saying that they had to hide trolling from Captain Sir Tom Moore, who raised tens of millions of pounds for the NHS. Did you see this? The woman, his daughter, I'm not going to be critical of her now because her father only died recently and she probably means very well. He raised a lot of money by going on a walk, of course. The very elderly man who turned 100 just before he passed away, I believe. Did he? I think he did. Walked around his garden and captured the imagination of the nation and raised tens of millions of pounds for the beleaguered NHS. But apparently the trolling on Twitter when he was doing that was horrendous. And his daughter said, we hid it from him, she said, because it would have broken his heart. Really? A man who saw combat in Burma? A man who survived dengue fever? But he'd have collapsed, would he? In the face of trolling? I don't think so. I don't think he'd have minded too much, to be honest. Different generation, sticks and stones and all of that. LBC's James O'Brien sums up trolling, as far as James O'Brien understands it, because James O'Brien at LBC, well, he knows everything.
And a lot of you actually expressing deep confusion about what kind of character would troll Captain Sir Tom Moore, as his daughter has revealed, the late Captain Sir Tom Moore, as his daughter has revealed this morning. That's actually quite easy. I mean, I'm not suggesting you should have any sympathy for these people, necessarily, although it's always nice to try. But for normal people, the kind of characters who spend their life infesting the internet, just sort of desperately trying to feel like they matter, what you have to get into your head is the idea they genuinely don't have anything better to do. So there's literally two types of people in the world. People who cannot imagine having nothing better to do in your life than spend it trolling people on the internet, whether it's Captain Sir Tom Moore or Caroline Flack or Lily Allen, or me even. There's people who cannot understand how anyone would have nothing better to do in their lives than that. And then there are people who genuinely have nothing better in their lives to do than that. And once you get that into your head, once you understand that, I'm not suggesting you should have sympathy for them, but at least you won't be confused anymore.
James O'Brien is the type of guy who takes gymnastic lessons in order to be able to perform fellatio on himself. James O'Brien is the sort of guy who will eventually release a book of his own quotations. What an arsehole. Maybe the trolling around Captain Tom Moore was a reaction to the pathos, to the sickening, fawning production the media made out of a decent bloke trying to do some good. An old-fashioned, old-school bloke. Maybe people's only way to react to the bullshit from the media is to troll the bejesus out of poor old Captain Sir Tom. I'm sure they realised that he wouldn't be reading the Twitter things or the tweets or whatever. Maybe he was, I don't know. Am I being ageist now? Yes, I did say that James O'Brien is the sort of guy who would learn gymnastics in order to suck himself off. But I'm not going to say that again. So I'm not. And 2 men have been arrested in Manchester for urinating on the George Floyd mural. Now, if this story hadn't crossed my desk today, I wouldn't have known that in Manchester there was a mural to George Floyd. But seemingly there is. A pair of dickheads filmed themselves pissing on it. And the filming is being used against them. It's evidence now against them. And they're obviously guilty of a public order offence. You can't just go pissing in the public and pissing on people's walls. Can you be prosecuted for hating the dead? Maybe. It's gone a bit mad now. Possibly they might be prosecuted for a hate crime against the dead man. But two absolute wet wipes filmed themselves urinating on a mural. Imagine there's a George Floyd mural in Manchester. Imagine, my God. It is 11 minutes past 5. I have a lot to get through. I don't know how long I'm going to be here, to be honest. I'm having a mad week. A really mad week. I don't want to be here. I really don't want to be here. But I'm here anyway. Who am I here for? Am I here for you? Am I here for me? I haven't a Scooby-Doo. But I don't want to be here today. I'm having a difficult week, dear listener. Shall I outpour? Shall I pour out? Shall I, I don't know, cathartically dispel my angst by telling you? No, I won't, because you've got your own problems. Things are just mad this week. Anyway, the actress Seyi Umuba took a wrongful dismissal case against the Curve Theatre in Leicester because she was kicked out of the stage version of The Colour Purple. Did you see The Colour Purple? Did you see it? With Whoopi. Was Whoopi in it? Whoopi Goldberg. I know. Was Oprah in it? Did you see it? You didn't see it? You didn't, you racist bastard. You didn't see it? You have to watch that stuff now. That'll be on one of those inclusivity tests you'll be getting on social crediting models in the future. Did you see The Colour Purple? I did. What was it about? I don't know. Did you? Did you watch Roots? Did you? Did you watch Roots? Did you watch Alex Haley's Roots? Did you? No. Why? You non-inclusive bastard. Actress Seyi Umuba was kicked off the stage version of The Colour Purple. And she was kicked out because it was discovered that she posted something on Facebook in 2014 when she was 20. What did she post? How bad was it? Well, she said, I do not believe that you can be born gay. I do not believe homosexuality is right. Just because the law of this land made it legal doesn't mean it's right, said the young woman. So she was booted. Bit of a conservative Christian, maybe. I don't know. Do I agree with her? Of course I don't. But she was booted. Of course I don't agree with that. I'd be interested to get my LGBT listeners in on the act here. What do you do with somebody like Seyi Umuba? Do we live and let live? Ironically. And do we say, sure, look, she has these opinions. She took it to the London Central Employment Tribunal and they don't agree with her. So the dismissal is upheld and she's out of a job. And more than likely, the woman will never be allowed work again because she believes that her God told her, holy God doesn't agree with homosexuality, and she goes to church maybe. She reads the scriptures. Hellfire, brimstone, damnation maybe. She's wrong, in my opinion, when she says that you can't be born gay. I believe she's wrong. But anyway, she's gone. And of course, this is going to become more and more common. And not just about issues around sexuality either. And this made me belly laugh this morning. And I was in a foul mood, a black mood this morning, very early on, walking around the park, trying to keep in good mood for my young golden retriever puppy. Trying to keep in good mood for her. Because nothing can bring that little fecker down. Nothing. Right? Nothing. Tail permanently pointed to the North Star. Permanently. And I'm running around with her in the park this morning, pissed off. And I'm listening to one of the radio stations, I can't remember. And I had a fit of belly laughing. And despite the fact we're still in winter, there was a good few dog walkers around this morning. And I did get one or two looks from people whom I haven't seen before. I could read their minds. That guy's fucking crazy. I'm belly laughing because I heard Dominic Raab, the Foreign Secretary, calling. I can't even say this without laughing, and I'm not trying to oversell this. Dominic Raab was on television and radio this morning calling for a global ceasefire. A global ceasefire now to allow for vaccination.
What kind of fuckery is this?
I want a global ceasefire now in the conflict zones around the world so that we can vaccinate the bejesus out of people that are being bombed to smithereens. I said on my website, I'd give one of my kidneys to be allowed to interview one of these people just for 5 minutes. Dominic, your government is giving the Saudis billions of pounds worth of weaponry to bomb the absolute bejesus out of Yemeni men, women and children. Isn't that right, Foreign Secretary? Yes. And you want to stop the bombing for a bit so that you can run in and vaccinate them, run back out, and then let the Saudis bomb them into oblivion still further. Is that right? Yes, that's right. Lovely. I feel a bit of Bob Newhart coming on here, because he did say the global war theatres, the war theatres of the world, we should have global ceasefires everywhere so that we can vaccinate. A bit of Bob Newhart coming on, eh? Phoning up the old ISIS, the old Islamic State. Hey, hello? Hello? Is that ISIS, is it? Is it? It is. Who's that? Asif, is it? How you doing there yourself, Asif? What are you up to, boy? What are you up to, eh? What's that you say? Just finished a double shift beheading infidels, eh? Good man, Asif. You tired, Jar? You're tired. Good man yourself. Quick question, Asif. Any chance you might pause the old beheadings there, just for a week, so that we can get you maniacs vaccinated, maybe? What's that, Asif? A week is a bit long, is it? Is it? What about 72 hours? Yeah? You can work that out, can you? With the jihadis? Good man. Good man. Vaudeville, isn't it? Vaudeville? You're walking around a park and you're listening to a guy calling for a global ceasefire so we can run in and vaccinate people that are running for their lives. Oh, God. And the South African president said he'd have the vax. Did you see this? You did? You did? You did? You didn't? You don't care? Going to tell you anyway. South African president said, I'll have the vax just to instill confidence in my fellow South Africans. The president of South Africa, you ignorant bastard, you don't know, but you should know, is Cyril Ramaphosa. And he said this morning, he said, I'll have the vax. I'll have the vax, he said. He said the Johnson & Johnson vaccine has been shown in extensive trials to be safe and efficacious. And I'll have it. Me and the Minister for Health will have it. The Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Somebody needs to tell him about Johnson & Johnson and talcum powder. You know talcum powder? They get it from talc, which is mined. You know that? You know that, don't you? They mine talc and then they make their talcum powder. Well, talcum powder is sometimes found very near asbestos. And we learned a couple of years ago that Johnson & Johnson have known since the 1970s that their own talcum powder was contaminated with asbestos. And back in 2018, the company was fined $4.7 billion for giving ovarian cancer to women. There were thousands and thousands of plaintiffs. 4.7 billion. They knew that their own product was contaminated and they gave it to people anyway. And the South African president is like, yeah, the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Yeah, go Johnson & Johnson. You maniac. And of course, some of you are saying, Richie, there's no way the Baxter is going to have the vaccine, right? Probably. I don't know. I mean, he must know about talcum powder, right? Imagine knowing the talcum powder was going to be put on babies' bottoms and you know it's got asbestos in it, but you keep selling it anyway. Evil bastards doesn't even begin to cover it. Oh, God, no. No, but the South African guy, well, he wants all of his people to have the vaccine as well. It's 19 minutes past 5. Good evening. This is the Richie Allen Radio Show live from Salford. And here's a story that came across my desk this afternoon. I'm sure you saw it too. Morrison's, the supermarket, and the yellow sticker. Did you see this? A disabled man was shopping in a Morrison's branch and security staff asked him, would he wear a yellow sticker? Will you wear a yellow sticker, will you there? Why? Well, it's just to demonstrate that you are exempt from wearing a mask. No, says the man. I don't think so. And then the security staff called the police. When they called the police, the disabled gentleman filmed them using his own phone, and you can hear the exchange here. I think the audio is just about up to scratch. Be Jesus. Here you go.
I wouldn't waste 999. It's a waste that time. Go for 911, I think. Is it 119? I'm not sure the number. Yeah, 1 or whatever it is. Yeah. I don't think 999 will be happy about this emergency.
New Morrison's policy will go out that everybody has to wear a mask or an exemption
or a sticker.
Wear a sticker, right?
So I'm not conforming to no sticker laws. Sorry.
There's more to explain to other people within the store that you are exempt. And
It's more to explain to other people in the store that you are exempt, says the security guard. He did cash that a little bit there. It's a bit low, but it's mad, isn't it?
No sticker laws. Sorry.
there's more to explain to other people within the store that you are exempt. And
I shouldn't need to
why
explain to
you have
other people, really. I've got a medical exemption, that should be enough. I shouldn't have to declare my medical exemption, that's a discrimination
You
act
don't
then.
have to declare it. It's more to let other people know why you're not wearing a mask. It's obviously
It's more to let other people know. It's more to let other people know why I'm man. They're saying to a disabled guy, wear the yellow sticker, go on. So that people in the store will know that you've got a medical exemption.
obviously everybody's
Well, if they ask me, I can tell them that I don't need a sticker to do that. I'm perfectly capable of communicating with somebody that.
Wants them. And in the meantime, the woman, the security guard, the female, is phoning the old bill on the disabled guy.
Strange days, eh?
Oh no.
Strange times.
Policy the board outside.
Doesn't mean it's right or correct or good, though, does it? Put a sticker on when not serving you food. It's a bit totalitarian, maybe, would you say?
It's just a policy, mate. It's
The policy, it's not law, say it's not even law. So she's going to go and phone the police now over a policy. You can't phone police over a policy, it's a civil matter.
Love the disabled gentleman. Love his mild-mannered and polite approach. Always be polite when dealing with total fucking idiots. It's the only way. Don't antagonise them. They usually have a very small medulla oblongata. Like crocodiles, they've got a tiny medulla oblongata. Many of these security people, not all of them, because my mate Michael is a security guard, and Michael and his mates are very bright people. Very bright people. And they exercise their duties with intelligence and wit and common sense, does Michael and his pals. But a lot of the time, these security guards are total fuckwits who walk around in a Walter Mitty state. In a Walter Mitty state, imagining that they're in the fucking streets of San Francisco or Starsky and Hutch or something, or RoboCop. Lunatics. So don't shout at them. They have tiny medulla oblongatas. Basically do what he did and say it's totalitarianism. Morrisons have since absolutely disowned the security guards and said it was an isolated incident. What a shower of lying bastards they are. Because you can be sure those security guards didn't just take that initiative and get the yellow stickers. We all know about yellow stickers, don't we? And yellow stars, the connotations and all of that sort of thing. I've loads more to tell you today. At least I think I do. I might go to 6. I might go to 6:30. I haven't a Scooby-Doo because I haven't timed it, you know. But I'm going to play something for me. This is the House of Pain and Jump Around. Thinking of happier times this Wednesday. Welcome to the Richie Allen Radio Show, live from Salford. Back with plenty more in about 3 minutes and 25 seconds. House of Pain and Jump Around on the Richie Allen Radio Show. My friend Spiro Skouras tells me that breaking news out of the United States is the conservative talk show host Rush Limbaugh has passed away, died of lung cancer. People who've been watching Fox News for many, many, many years and other conservative channels will know who Rush Limbaugh is. I wouldn't have a smidgen of time for the man as a broadcaster or as a journalist, but that doesn't matter. He's passed away. It'll mean more, I think, to American-based listeners of this programme than maybe listeners in the UK or Ireland. Rush Limbaugh, who's passed away of lung cancer. So thanks for the heads up there, Spiro. I appreciate that. It is exactly 27 minutes past 5. I am Richie Allen. This is your Richie Allen Radio Show, broadcasting live out of Salford in the northwest of the UK. Let's get on with it then. Some serious news. Domestic vaccine passports. I can hear you scream already. Sick to death of it. Are yous? Well, have a listen. Because it's being discussed a lot on our TV and radio programs here in this country. A lot, right? It's being discussed in two ways. Will companies be able to compel employees to have the vaccine? Number one. Number two, will you need to have it to access a social life or to enter a supermarket or a shop, wherever, right? Okay. Radio 5 Live this morning, couple of tidbits for you. Yvonne Simons runs a toy shop in Shropshire. She's all for these passports for her employees. She would implement it, she says herself. Given the choice, she would expect her staff to have the vaccine.
I'd have to, because the demand would be that, the expectation from the public would be, are you employing people who are not going to, are you doing everything you can to minimise the risk of giving me COVID when I come into your toy shop? That's not what we opened a toy shop for, is to put people at risk. So as uncomfortable as it might be with some people, my natural way of going ahead would be to say you have to have it.
You have to have it, says Yvonne Simons. End of story. I didn't open a toy shop to give people COVID. Fair enough, I suppose. Oh God, mad stuff. But for those of you listening who are working for a company, working for another man or another woman, this is important for you. On the very same programme, they invited an employment solicitor on. Good call, that. Rachel Burden is the presenter.
So let's talk to a lawyer about this. Stephanie Hayden, lawyer based in London. Morning, Stephanie.
Yes, hi, good morning.
What's the legal position for employers? Can they insist on this?
At the moment, if you're currently employed, the law as it stands today, if you were told you had to have a jab as a condition of your job, the employer would almost certainly, in my view, be discriminating against and be in breach of the contract of employment.
Very important. Stephanie Hayden said, and she's right, I looked into it myself, right now, employers can't do it. They are in breach. The contract of employment can't be done right now. But there's always a but.
The employer would need to have the express or implied agreement of the employee concerned, or otherwise that employee could simply resign and claim for constructive dismissal.
Right, good stuff. They would have to have the express consent of the employee right now. If it came to an argument, the employee could resign and sue the company for constructive dismissal. Difficult at the moment for a company to impose this on its staff, right? Imposing meaning that it would tell the staff you have to have the vaccine.
However, going forward into what some people might describe as the new normal, things may well develop. So I can definitely foresee a situation where certain business sectors, I'm thinking, for example, care homes, or even the charity sector working abroad, say in Africa, might, as part of a reasonable management instruction, require prospective employees in the first instance and then current employees to have those jabs to enable them to perform, for example, in sensitive roles around clinically extremely vulnerable persons or in, for example, sub-Saharan Africa. What will happen, in my view, is that this will be tested pretty quickly. One employer will make this decision, someone will take them to employment tribunal, and we will develop jurisprudence on this issue.
Develop jurisprudence. It'll be tested quickly in the courts, she said. No doubt. The presenter asks, don't employers have a responsibility to protect other employees, which would give them the excuse to insist that everybody is vaccinated?
Well, of course, this is the big elephant in the room. An employer does have an obligation to provide a safe workplace. However, we have a situation where employees have been employed on specific contracts of employment and they just can't be changed.
But if it's someone new that you're employing?
Well, that's again where I think we have to wait and see. As I said a few moments ago, I could definitely see a situation in certain business sectors where that could be considered a reasonable management instruction to enable one to perform the role. And it will be tested in due course in the courts. But I don't believe it's going to be widespread. You know, we've all heard stories
exactly.
recently.
This is a classic case of, this may only affect a tiny number of people. It may only come up a couple of times in the whole country where this situation requires resolution. But it's a fascinating one in terms of the whole moral question of our responsibility to other people versus our freedom to choose.
It's a thorny legal issue, all right. Should people be compelled by their employers or even their governments to be injected with chemicals because it might protect strangers? It's insane, right? You and I know that, right? Okay, madness. The presenter then lays out some possible scenarios for the lawyer.
I'm just thinking of employees who go into a home, whether they're electricians or people working in the building trade or someone who fits blinds, whoever it is. And you as a company, you advertise it and you say, every one of our employees is vaccinated. You can feel safe.
Well, I think that would be going over the top. It's what would be proportionate in my view. Absolutely, you could have a certain number of employees, and let's be honest, probably most of your employees are going to be vaccinated in reality. So you are going to be able to supply the trader to, for example, a home where there's a clinically extremely vulnerable person living, and you can offer that service. But to require every single employee, because let's remember, some employees can't get vaccinated for medical reasons. This is not all about so-called anti-vaxxers. There's generally, medical reasons for it as well.
Yeah, I'm enjoying the row with you now. Sure, medical exemptions is one thing, Stephanie.
It's not much of a row, really, is it?
Stephanie, but if you don't have medical exemption, interestingly, our audience is, or the part of our audience that communicates with us, is very warm to this idea. They're generally supportive of it. Others saying...
Surprise, surprise, the BBC presenter says our audience is really warm to the idea of vaccine passports and domestic vaccine passports and employees being forced to take the vaccine. Surprise, surprise! BBC says our listeners are all for it. Shocking, isn't it?
Is saying that there are privacy issues here. But so this is from Owen, for example. We require bus drivers and lorry drivers to meet medical and eyesight standards and test for these if required. I simply don't see the difference in requiring other staff to meet a standard by having been vaccinated.
But why don't we do that for the flu? Why don't we do that for 1,000 other, diseases that people could get? To me, this is about striking a balance. I believe that the courts will resolve this once somebody tries to impose it and the inevitable litigation follows. But I agree with you. This is not going to be the major problem that people anticipate because most people will be vaccinated.
Most people will be vaccinated, she said. Yes. Let me read a few tweets there. At BBG Richie, I did ask you for your tweets and you did send them. So it's only right to read them out, isn't it? Yes. David says, so a condition to employment is mandatory medical trial. Says David. Yeah. That's the sound of it, David. That's the way it sounds to me as well. Hi to Roby. How you doing, Roby? Hi to Andrew, who says, regarding the Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab. Now, Dominic Raab said he's calling for a global ceasefire for every conflict in the world to stop so that people can be vaccinated. Read that, says Andrew on Twitter. That's the same as using an antiseptic wipe to swab the death row guy's arm before a lethal injection. Good man. Good man. Alan says the toy shop owner is mental. In my opinion, any employer who insists the employee has the jab must be then liable for any damages, says Alan. Thank you, Alan. A lot of people would agree with you. Fabrizio says, Richie, companies can simply fire and then rehire the same employee. Fire them and then rehire them on a new contract. Presumably Fabrizio means that. Rehire them on a new contract with a stipulation that you must have the vaccine. Better news from Chris Morell. How you doing, Chris? Chris says he's got a work colleague. She's about 24 years old. Like me, she's not keen on the vaccine. Her reaction when I asked her about it, she said she can't be arsed. Good stuff, Chris. I appreciate that. Hi to William in Scotland. How you doing, William? Ron says, come on, Richie, we're a family. Tell us what's bugging you. No. Alice says, Richie, a strange thing even. When I tweet on the BBG, I get a WHO tweet notification. Is that right? That's a bit strange. I don't know what that means, Alice. But thanks for the tweet anyway. Hi to Mark Wild. How you doing, Mark? Hi to Tracy. Tracy says that her local Morrison's in Eccles. You're only round corner, Tracy. You're only round corner. Over at road. Tracy says, Richie, my local Morrison's in Eccles asked my aunt to wear a sunflower lanyard to signal her exemption. My aunt said no and carried on into the store. Thankfully, they didn't follow and ask her to wear a yellow sticker. Good stuff, Tracy. Thank you very much. Hi to Chris Clough. Hi, Chris. Hi to Paul Paranoid. How you doing, Paul? And so on, so on, so on. Lots and lots of tweets coming in. It's nice to see your tweets at BBG Richie. William says, as always, folks will dig their own graves. people are now institutionalised because of lockdown, and a lot of them will eventually only go back into the work environment or the real world if everyone is masked and inoculated, because they won't feel safe otherwise. There was a brilliant editorial in the Telegraph today, William, which kind of echoed what you've just said there. For the life of me, I can't remember who wrote it. It's been one of those days, been one of those weeks, but there was a brilliant editorial in the Telegraph about that very thing, about people being inducted now into this way of thinking, fear ruling, fear reigning in society. People are desperate, so now they're all for the vaccines and the masks, not just as a route out of lockdown, but because they've been scared even beyond that. It's now not just about lockdown. They're now genuinely terrified that the person they bump into, regardless of whether it's a work colleague or a stranger, a passerby on the street, people have now been conditioned to believe that the other person is a lethal biological weapon. That's a fact. Well said there, William, in Scotland. Donna Summer on the Richie Allen Radio Show. Classic bit of disco, this. Plenty more to talk about when I come back. BBG Richie on Twitter. Time is 20 to 6. Donna Summer on the Richie Allen Radio Show. Hot stuff indeed. Good stuff. Right, let's move swiftly on. Hi to Linda, who tweets as Mama Abeji. How you doing, Linda? No, Linda, not great, but thank you very much for your tweet. I really appreciate that. Moncour 1984 says, Richie, at what cost to the taxpayer that has been denied access to work for nearly a year? This is madness. And what he means is, or she means, I wrote today about a government plan to basically send out millions of coronavirus lateral flow tests across the country every week as a way of us getting back to some kind of new normal. You can't get back to a new normal, I know. Oxymoronic, I know. But this was on my website today, basically. Millions of us will get kits sent to us regularly, not just a one-off or twice. They've told the Royal Mail to be prepared to deliver rapid flow tests to the tune of initially 400,000 a day in the UK. But they wanted to ramp up to 75 million a week eventually. Lateral flow tests, no need for a laboratory, none whatsoever. You administer the test to yourself. You swab your nose or your throat. Dangerous thing to do, right? It is. You place the swab in a vial of liquid, which is then dripped onto a test strip, which tells you whether you are positive, negative, or inconclusive. The government has dubbed this plan, wait for it, quote, are you ready? Get testing, go, end quote. Which dickhead came up with that? Are you ready? Get testing, go. Tyranny is what it is. Tyranny. And I believe when Johnson says this is the way to get back to normal, ultimately telling people that they have to test themselves constantly in order to allow themselves out of their house. Like an open prison. It's like an open prison. Here's a testing kit. Test yourself. If you test negative, you better stay indoors for a while and isolate. If you test positive, you can upload your positive test to the app and we'll know that you tested negative. I've said that all wrong, haven't I? If you tested positive, isolate, stay indoors, don't come out. Negative? Well, you can go out, at least for a while. But we expect you to test yourself regularly. So a positive test is a negative, Jesus Christ, a negative test, freedom, is only good for a couple of days. Yeah, because in the meantime, you could get COVID. So test yourself again. Negative, really good. Test yourself again in 2 days. Do they really want to do that? I reckon this is about imposing maximum discomfort on the population so that the population says, okay, then we'll have the fucking vaccine. Give us the fucking vaccine. I didn't want to. I believe it's potentially deadly, but I can't take any more of this. So just here. Here's me right arm. Go on and be done with it. Royal Mail told to prepare to start off, delivering 3 million tests a week, rising to 75 million. It's madness. Of course it is. It's tyranny. And my Twitter friend says, what cost to the taxpayer? The government has already borrowed £400 billion for this hoax. 400 billion. Who do you think is going to pay that back? Yeah. Do you need a little bit more time? No? You know, right? You know. Okay. Let's move on. My pal Spiro doing a bit of production for the Richie Allen Show. Top man Spiro Skouras. The Spiro Skouras YouTube channel. You're not getting any more mentions now for free, you bastard. Going to cost you from now on in, Spiro. New rules. New rules here at Richie Allen Show Towers. Thanks, Spiro. This is very important. Drainey Keys dropped dead a short time after she got the Pfizer vaccine in Gloucester, right in Virginia. We know this because we talked about it on this programme. Madness. She got the vaccine in Warsaw, Virginia. Dropped right dead. And God love her daughter. She came upon her and God knows what that was like. There won't be any autopsy, apparently. Because the rule of law has been flushed down the fucking toilet, not just in the United States, but everywhere. No vaccine. Here's WTKR, News Action 3, with the report, thanks to Spiro Skouras. No autopsy. Have a Pfizer vaccine, drop stone dead, brown bread, pop your clogs. Autopsy? God, no.
It's been 18 days since Lisa Jones unexpectedly lost her mother, Drainey Keys. She still has no answers as to why or how she died.
We had a memorial service last week.
The 58-year-old Gloucester resident died less than an hour after getting the Pfizer vaccine.
At this time, they still have not determined a cause of death.
Doctors at VCU Tappahannock Hospital, where Keys was rushed to, told Jones her mother had flash pulmonary edema caused by anaphylaxis. But it's still unclear as to if that was her cause of death. The medical examiner told Jones they would not perform an autopsy.
That was just something that ripped my heart out all over again, because when something like this happens unexpectedly, you want answers. You want to uncover everything. She said that the full autopsy would not reveal anything that would associate the vaccine with her death.
The state health commissioner sent us this statement. Quote, no full autopsy was performed on Miss Keys because it was not necessary in order to determine whether her death was caused by anaphylaxis. Toxicology tests were performed, but no results yet. Jones tells us they did do something called a tryptase test.
And her tryptase levels did not indicate that there was an allergic response.
Jones feels more tests should have been performed before releasing her mother's body.
I think there's still a lot that we don't know about how the vaccine works in people who have underlying health conditions.
The CDC and the Virginia Department of Health are investigating Keys' death. I'm Chelsea Donovan for News 3.
Good report from Chelsea Donovan for News 3 there. Let's get rid of that. Thanks, Spiro. And God love Lisa Jones, right? God love Lisa Jones. The tryptase test said that there was no anaphylaxis. None. The lying bastard doctor said, oh, there was, but there obviously wasn't if the tryptase test didn't show it. How could anybody look that woman in the eye, that Lisa Jones, God love her, and say, oh, we're sorry about your mom, Drainey. We're sorry that she dropped dead only a few minutes after getting the vaccine, but there's going to be no autopsy, love. Sling your hook, love. Get lost. No autopsy. You don't have any rights whatsoever. Brave new world now, folks, eh? Brave new world, eh? Eh? This is where we are. It is, 9 minutes to 6 o'clock. Wednesday, the 17th of February 2021, with Richie Allen. That's me, the BG. Let's move on. God, let's give a boola bus to Dr. Pat Morrissey from Adair in County Limerick. A boola bus is a round of applause, by the way. I've just taught you a bit of Gaelga. Not Gaelic. Don't know what that shit is. Gaelga. Bula bus for Dr. Pat Morrissey. The doctor has refused to give coronavirus vaccines to his patients. Not only that, but he has said that he will go to court if anybody attempts to have him removed for doing his job. He's well known, is Pat, for not supporting the lockdown, and he has argued that the vaccines are untested, are unlicensed, and that they are experimental. Of course, he's right. He's also given hydroxychloroquine and zinc and vitamins to his patients that have got mild virus, despite the Health Service executive in Ireland banning hydroxychloroquine last September. I'm giving it to them anyway, says Pat, because I know it's the right thing to do. I believe the therapeutics I am using are much better than the vaccine, says Dr. Pat Morrissey. And amazingly, a little bastard called Paul Reid, the chief executive of the Irish HSE, little fecker, Paul Reid said that any healthcare workers who refuse to have a vaccine can expect to be removed from their posts. Huh? He should be running for his life, shouldn't he? Huh? If you don't have the vaccine, you might be sacked, says Paul Reid. And in response to that, Dr. Pat Morrissey, who's another hero in this nonsense that we're living through, Pat said, I have a threat against me and my job because of what Paul Reid said, but I'll take it on in the courts. I've obviously invited Pat Morrissey on the programme. I like the man, but I will understand, of course, he's got enough on his plate now without him getting into trouble for coming on this programme, God forbid, with the anti-Semite and the Jew hater and all of that. He better not come on here. Hey? Mad times. Mad times. Mad times. Before we do the next bit, I'm going to take another tune. I think I am. Yeah, I am. I am. I don't know how long I'll be with you today. I have no idea. Fancy a bit of Glenn Campbell this afternoon. I don't know why, but I do. And I've dug out a bit of Glenn Campbell, the old Wichita lineman, I think, yeah? That's the one. Lineman for the county. Glenn Campbell and Wichita lineman. Yeah, it's one of the greatest songs of all time. Back in the day, before it long overstayed its welcome, The Simpsons was the funniest television program ever. I'm going to go out on a limb and say The Simpsons, the funniest TV show there's ever been. First 5, 6, 7 seasons, incredible. And I'm going to play a little sketch. It's only about 40 seconds long, so bear with me. On Wichita lineman, picture the scene now. Homer Simpson is in his kitchen. He's in his kitchen. On the phone is attached to the wall. His wife, Marge, is in prison at the moment, and he wants to speak to her. And he's speaking to the prison, or a warden at the prison, or somebody at the prison. And they put him on hold. And he gets annoyed. Gets really annoyed. He's in his kitchen now.
I can't talk to my wife for 28 days? Sir, she is not an alcoholic. You can't put me on hold. I'll put you on hold. I am a lineman for the county. Your call is important to us. Please continue to hold. And I drive the main road. There are 8 calls ahead of you. And the Wichita lineman is still on the la 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 line.
And then he hangs up before they can put him through. I think she was in a rehab for alcoholics or something like that. The Simpsons. Right, let's move swiftly on then. Hi to Phil in Florida. How you doing, Phil? These are mad times. Sky News today at 3 o'clock. What do you think Sky News did? Do you think Sky News at 3 o'clock did an hour of news? Does it ever? But you know what I mean, right? Did it do Sky News at 3, the headlines? Did it do that? No, it didn't. It ran an hour long programme on vaccine hesitancy, presented by Plastic Paddy Dermot Murnaghan. Sky News at 3 o'clock didn't do an hour of news, God no. It did an hour on vaccine hesitancy, Dermot Murnaghan, and this is basically an infomercial for the vaccine manufacturers. A programme to quell the fears of those who don't want the bastard vaccines. Basically propaganda dressed up as news. Here's Moynihan talking about polling, and the polling discusses which groups in society will have the jab and which groups are hesitant to have the jab. Dermot Moynihan.
But in a study of over 11,000 UK adults, get this, 82% said they would likely or very likely have a COVID-19 vaccine. But this figure changes very dramatically for solely black or black British adults, with nearly 72% stating that they were unlikely, stroke very unlikely, to be vaccinated. And Pakistani, Bangladeshi adults are 42% unlikely / very unlikely to be vaccinated. And as I say, Ashna joins me now. We're taking that survey in with your report. So, I mean, we're all very concerned about this, aren't we? Just tell us some of the voices, some of the people you spoke to, what they were saying.
Oh, God, before we hear from Ashna, we're all very concerned, says Dermot Moynihan. I couldn't give a shite. I bet you racists all over the country are finding themselves with strange new feelings for black people and Asian people and Sri Lankan people and Sikhs. They must be delighted now, the racists. I love black people now. I think they're very clever. They're not stupid. I love the presenter. We're very concerned that these people won't have the vaccine. Oh, be Jesus. So Ashna Huranag. What does she say?
It's really interesting, Dermot, because the reason why this is newsworthy, the reason why it's interesting is because we know that these communities are disproportionately affected by this virus, and yet you've still got members of those communities who are fearful. And it's interesting that some of the myths share some similarities, even though these people are from various different communities. You've got myths surrounding the ingredients, you've got myths surrounding the side effects, but all of these appear to be built upon some deep-seated multi-generational fears and reservations that some people have to do with trust, to do with authority. And that's not just across the board. That's particular towards the black community, for instance. But one thing that's interesting is that anti-vaxxers are really, I guess, playing on this concept. We have seen this rise in disinformation, in rise in fears, especially on online platforms. And I think that's why you've seen today the chief executive of the NHS, Sir Simon Stevens, addressing that we are tackling two pandemics. We're tackling the actual virus itself, but we're also tackling the virus, the pandemic of misinformation.
And that's what we're going to tackle.
That's what we're going to tackle, says Dermot Moynihan. That's what we're going to tackle. They talk about vaccine. I can never say MYTHS. Why is that? Is it an Irish thing? Is it? If you've got freckles, does that mean that you're unable to say myths? She said myths. But the problem is for Ashna Huranag and that jelly-livered fucker Dermot Moynihan is that the myths they're talking about are statements by real doctors and real scientists. That's the amazing thing, you know? Like Charit Bhakti, like Shirley Tenpenny, like Dolores Cahill. I could go on like. These are real people. They're not cardboard cutouts. They're not conspiracy theorists. Do you think Sky reached out to any of these qualified folks for a bit of balance? Not on your Nelly. God, no. I've been bullshitting you for years. I don't mean bullshitting as in telling you lies. I don't tell you lies. But I've been banging on about the mainstream media for years and deconstructing it and how it works, how it operates. And I thought I'd seen everything. We're going to replace the 3 o'clock news with an infomercial for the vaccine manufacturers. Dermot Moynihan and Ashna Huranag, his junior reporter, are going to stand there telling us how concerned they are that black folks and Asian folks and folks from other parts of the world, not other parts of the world, born, of course, in the UK, but their ethnic backgrounds are from different places. We're very concerned they won't have the vaccine. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? Well, we better talk about misinformation. But they had Maheshi Try that again. They had Maheshi Ramasamy on. Maheshi Ramasamy, the Oxford University woman, who was one of the chief investigators on the Oxford vaccine group. It's why I sometimes believe I'm actually asleep and I'm not actually living this scenario. How in the name of God and Sonny Jesus, could Sky imply that a woman who worked on the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine is impartial? Please help me. Help me understand, because I can't understand. Maybe it's because I'm stupid. Let's bring on a woman who was involved in manufacturing the vaccine to talk about the misinformation about the vaccine. God. Okay. She was asked about the fears around pregnancy. Listen to her stutter and stammer and obfuscate.
Now, the two vaccines that are available in the UK are the mRNA Pfizer vaccine and the viral vectored Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine. Neither of those vaccines can cause COVID-19 disease. Both of those vaccines are safe in people are safe in people whose immune systems don't work very well. We worry in pregnancy because we at the moment don't have enough data of people who've received the vaccine in pregnancy, and that's because in the clinical trials we don't normally recruit people in early clinical trials who are planning to get pregnant or who are pregnant themselves, and that's just routine procedure. But there's no reason, given that these vaccines can't in themselves cause disease, that it would be likely to cause any problem either to the pregnant woman or to their baby. So the guidance now in the UK is that if somebody is at risk of contracting COVID-19 infection, for example, if they're a healthcare worker and are occupationally at risk, or if they have another healthcare condition that means that they are otherwise at risk of severe COVID disease, such as heart disease or lung disease, then they can be vaccinated. But it's an individual decision. So someone who's planning to get pregnant or who is pregnant should talk to their GP, talk to their healthcare practitioner about what's the right thing for them and weigh up those risks and benefits for themselves.
Well, thanks for clearing that up. And just let me underline.
She fucking didn't clear anything up. What did she clear up? Stuttering and stammering. You'd have to be crazy if you're planning to have a child, or if you are with child, to go anywhere near the vaccine. They warned people at the beginning who might be thinking about getting pregnant or who were pregnant not to take it. They did, by the way. Not conjecture. Stone cold fact. That's what they said at the time. I've written an article about this on richieallen.co.uk. This is mad stuff. Mad stuff. You had Nadeem Zahawi, the vaccine minister, on Sky yesterday saying, yeah, it's all right if you're pregnant, don't worry about it. He might have said, go to your doctor. But he didn't say that vaccines are not routinely offered to pregnant women. They're not. Nor is this vaccine supposed to be offered to pregnant women. But they are desperate for everybody to have the vaccine, because the vaccine, or the gene therapy drug, as it should be known as, has got nothing to do with protecting you from a virus. Of that, I am 100% convinced now. I think Moynihan asks her about misinformation. Oh, the irony.
Just let me underline to our audience where that's come from, the senior clinical researcher with the Oxford Vaccine Group. So you know all about that. Tell me about, though, Dr. Ramasamy, your concerns, and are they deep concerns about the level in some communities of misinformation about the vaccines?
And her reply?
Yes, it's really dispiriting to hear that people from ethnic minority groups are not taking up the vaccine. You know, as a clinician, that's who I see coming into my hospital with bad COVID. You know, people.
Is that a clinical term? With bad COVID?
People who are elderly, people from ethnic minorities, and people with comorbidities. And to me, it just seems really frustrating that people who are at the most at risk are not accepting a vaccine that's safe and effective, that would protect them, that would stop them from getting this severe disease in the first place.
Severe disease, that's a monumental lie. It's hard not to shout, you know, it's hard not to lose your temper. It really is difficult not to. I'm not going to, don't panic at all. I'm not going to do that. Severe disease is an absolute lie. And that's one that isn't an opinion. It is not a severe disease. It's not a disease. When did we start referring to coughs and sneezes and temperatures as disease? Dis-ease. When did we start doing that? Only now. Only in the time of COVID. It's not severe. It is not. The only people who might, if COVID exists, and I'm not saying it doesn't, but I'm no longer saying it does because I don't know. If it does exist, the only people vulnerable to it are people with serious health problems anyway. Everybody else, nah. You might be a bit sick and a bit fed up for a couple of days, but you'll be all right. In fact, the vast majority of people won't even know they had it. Severe disease is a lie. They can tell these lies. It must be fantastic now to be a government advising scientist, an advisor to the government, or even a government minister. You know now that going on television or radio is going to be a wonderful experience. You're not going to be asked any questions. You will not be asked to prove anything that you say. Whatever you proffer on the programme, whatever you put out there, the presenter is just going to go, yeah. And we all know, don't we, how serious this is, don't we, Minister? Yes, we do. Yes, we do, Neil. Yes, it is serious. That's why we want to vaccinate as many people as we possibly can. Yes, and congratulations, Minister, on how many people you've managed to vaccinate so far. Thank you. It's a team effort. Brilliant. Now, what about all this misinformation, Minister? It's terrible, isn't it? What are we going to do about it? Thanks for bringing it up there, Neil. Well, we're working with the social media companies to get them to take down nasty misinformation. Excellent. Thanks for coming on, Minister, and keep up the good work. That is journalism in 2020 and 2021. It was bad enough in 2019, but that's what it is now. Cheerio then, Minister. Godspeed to you. Go and kill as many people as you can with your experimental medicines. Mad times. It is 10 and a half minutes even, past the hour. Here's some good news. I just had an email from Kevin Myers. Kevin Myers. I bet you Jean Anna's had too. Jean Anna's a good friend of Kevin Myers. Kevin, fantastic writer, Kevin Myers. Half the time you think, brilliant. Half the time you think, I want to kill him. Which is the measure of any good writer, any good commentator, any good social commentator. Kevin Myers is back. kevinmyers.ie. kevinmyers.ie. He'll be putting online columns on kevinmyers.ie from tomorrow. Check him out. We must extend an invitation even to Kevin to come back on the programme, because I do like him. Even though I see the world very differently to Kevin, I like him. I like him anyway. This is The Police and Every Breath You Take, the Richie Allen Radio Show, live from Salford. 12 minutes past 6 o'clock, Wednesday show. Yeah, The Police and Every Breath You Take on your Richie Allen Radio Show. Time is exactly 15 and a half minutes past 6 o'clock, or thereabouts. A little bit ahead of myself, maybe, I don't know. I might be. John Lee is the chief pathologist for the Heart Group, and John is a former NHS pathologist. He's a clever guy, and he's a lockdown skeptic. He was on Julia Hartley-Brewer's talk radio show this morning, and he said a change of approach is needed by the government. It needs to move away from the SAGE committee's advice. Listen to other people. John Lee with Julia Hartley-Brewer.
What we've been in for the last year really is government struggling to deal with something that it doesn't know very much about. And so it's been very, very dependent on the advice it's been getting from its SAGE committee. And the SAGE committee, I'm afraid, has been reflecting a very narrow interpretation of the data, and in many of our views a rather tendentious interpretation of the data. And so the government really haven't had much option but to act on the advice they've been given. But there is actually good understanding of what you do in a situation where there's great uncertainty, and that is you broaden the debate, you broaden the range of advice you're receiving so that you can actually see the range of possible interpretations of the data, and then you as a politician can come to the right idea. And that's what the government hasn't been really doing enough, in my opinion, hitherto, and they could make their own lives a lot easier by broadening the debate and letting other people contribute.
Letting other people contribute, eh? Yeah. But John, I listen to John Lee and I like him, and I do hear him on talk radio. And I wonder, why can John not move beyond the facade? Why can he not move beyond the smoke screen? Surely now John Lee must suspect that there is a very good reason why every scientist in the country that has made a case that lockdowns are terrible has been frozen out and attacked. John Lee isn't stupid, and he seems like a nice guy. Is he not pondering why anti-lockdown scientists with very sexy credentials academically are being frozen out and attacked. He must wonder. Julia Hartley-Brewer with the next question.
Is there any hope that we will actually walk away from this and actually start balancing the costs and the very real known 100% we know costs of lockdown against the possibilities of a resurgence of the virus?
Well, no, I mean, I think we do need a change of approach. I mean, it does seem to me that there's a contradiction at the moment inherent in the government's approach. And that's on the one hand, they're telling us that this virus is unprecedented and we've never come across anything like this before. But on the other hand, they're telling us that despite that, SAGE, the small group of people on SAGE with their relatively narrow specialist interest and expertise, know precisely and exactly how we should deal with it. Well, obviously, those two things are not compatible. I and many others, and I agree with you, I think there are very many people who have serious reservations about the approach we're going. I and many others feel that this isn't, in fact, unprecedented, that, in fact, we quite regularly come across viruses of a similar type of nastiness to COVID, but we've never dealt with them in this way before. And if you accept the fact that this virus isn't unprecedented, then we do know what to do about it. And what we do about it is not this.
Yes.
What we do about it is what we've done every year previous to 2020, which is not sort of shoot ourselves in both feet.
Yeah, don't shoot ourselves in both feet. It's just a crazy time to be alive, you know. I was reading a piece in the Financial Times about the bewilderment among scientists that in India things are hunky-dory, that cases went right down to nothing in India and people are not dying in India. And rather than accept that what has happened in the great country of India is that natural herd immunity to whatever this virus is has occurred. Herd immunity has happened, which always happens with respiratory infections. The lying bastards are saying, oh, well, it must be something to do with the Indian people themselves. They must have some condition that makes them less susceptible to the virus. It's just horse shit, is what it is. It's mad, isn't it? Thanks for your tweets, by the way. Lots of tweets coming in. It's at BBG Richie on Twitter. It's the way to get me. And I'll read them out when I see them. Hi to Patricia. How you doing, Patricia? Charlie Stevenson says, Richie, look at 2020 as opposed to 2021. In 2020, no vaccine, and you could eat out to help out. That's right, Charlie. 2021, he says, with the vaccine, we have a vaccine. With the vaccine, you also need health passports, and we need to be less than 1,000 cases a day, and we need to give 75 million lateral flow tests per week. It's a clown world, says Charlie. It is right enough, Charlie. It is right enough, mate. I'll give you that. No doubt about it. Lovely. Let's scroll on down. Hi to Diane. How you doing, Diane? Who says, Richie, we were warned. V for Vendetta shows how the media will go forward in this post-truth society. It is crap, says Diane. Hi to Daniel Starr. How you doing, Daniel? I'll take the compliment for once, Daniel. You're on fire today, Richie, says Daniel. Hilarious. Thanks, Daniel. Glad somebody finds it funny. Cheers, mate. Stephen Hardy says, Richie, wonder what the government believes is sufficient uptake for herd immunity. 70%? 80%? Or even 90%, is it? Seems they're just obsessed with everyone getting this toxic shite. But regardless of poll results, I think more than enough will accept the vaccine without question. Stephen thinks more than enough people will take it. Stephen, I tend to agree with you, my friend. Sadly, I think you're bang on. And Mad Monk tweets, Richie, that is it. We need more ethnic celebrities on television taking the vaccine. Come on, line them up now. Which celebrity is out of work and needs the money? You might be right. It might be a route taken by the government. It might take that road. It might ask well-known black men and women and Asian men and women who are well-known and say, take the vaccine. I think they're doing something. While Mad Monk is, I absolutely agree with him, they might be kind of doing that already. They've not asked them to take the vaccine on television, but they are engaged in a program. They have asked well-known people from BAME backgrounds to go public and recommend the vaccine. They have done that. Crazy, huh? How could you? How could you do that? In good conscience, how could you do that? I mean, what do you know about the vaccine? Nothing. Excuse me, is the answer. Little bit of hope in Holland last night. I put this on the website last night in the Netherlands. You might have seen it, you might not have seen it. But yesterday morning, a court in The Hague ruled that a curfew in Holland, which was designed to stop the spread of the virus, should be lifted. Now, the curfew was one between 9 o'clock and 4:30 in the morning, and it was imposed by an emergency law. And a group of people called Virus Truth opposed this. And because of their campaigning, the court in The Hague lifted the overnight curfew and said, and I quote, they lifted it because there was no acute emergency. Now, late last night, the government appealed this, and the court said, for the moment, the curfew stays in place, for the moment, until the government's appeal is heard on Friday in a couple of days' time. It might be a very slim hope of a European country. You know, it might be a very slim hope that magistrates or judges in a European country might be pushing back against these outlandish Orwellian lockdowns. But still, it's something. Interesting guy, the guy who is involved or behind Virus Truth. They quoted this guy in the story. I've tried to reach out to him. His name is William Engel. Young guy. There's a photograph of him on the website. Young guy. Maybe mixed race. Maybe a black guy. Maybe not. He has dreadlocks. Fetching looking guy. He's behind it. And he was even surprised himself that the court basically uplifted or overturned the curfew. But as I said, the court then said, listen, we'll keep it for a couple of days more until the appeal is held. We'll keep an eye on that this coming Friday in the Netherlands. There you go. There you go. Thanks for your tweets. We're rapidly approaching the end of the programme today. Thanks for being with me. Number of people in touch with me today. Missed the interview with Dolores Cahill last night on the programme, telling me they're finding it hard to find it. You can't find it hard to locate. It's on richieallen.co.uk. If you go to my website, the programme from the previous day can be heard. The podcast is right there. Just check it out. Podomatic.com is the first place of call for my podcast, Podomatic.com. But it's on Spotify as well and on iTunes. A number of you said that you were worried that my show wasn't on Spotify anymore. It is on Spotify. I was able to listen briefly to yesterday's episode today. Not that I spend much time listening back to myself. I do occasionally. You have to as a broadcaster. But I went looking for it today because some of you said you couldn't find it. It is there. There might be something going on in certain territories. There may be an issue with listening to content. You know what I mean? I broadcast the Richie Allen radio show from Salford. It goes to Podomatic. It automatically goes to Spotify. Spotify is everywhere. And maybe if you're listening in Canada, maybe if you're listening in the United States, maybe you can't listen to my program on Spotify. Whereas if you were living here, you could listen to it on Spotify. This goes on. That type of thing happened on YouTube, as you probably know. You don't need me to tell you. Okay? So the program is accessible, iTunes, Spotify, whichever is your podcast host, you'll find it. It's all there. Thousands of episodes going back to 2014. Thousands of episodes and thousands of guests. So if you missed Dolores Cahill, very important what she had to say last night. It is available through the channels I just gave you. So get your thumb out of your backside. Get with the program. All right, I have no time now for technophobes anymore. It's too important now what's going on. David came back to me to say, if a radio presenter said that a tattoo to show immunity is a good idea after 7 o'clock, and in the day, advertising the person who said we should have it back in October 19 at a certain event in New York, could we conclude they're on the payroll now? David, I read that as you sent it to me. It didn't read well, but I get what you're saying. You've got to send me a link to that. Was there a radio presenter back in October 19 mooting the possibility of tattoos to show immunity. Is that right? Do send me a link, mate. I've probably seen this myself, but certain things, come in and go out of your heads. Hi to Colin in Dublin. How you doing, Colin? All right, okay. That's about it for me for today. I'm not sure I'll be back with you tomorrow. Lot going on domestically at the moment. Got a very ill canine companion. That's all I'm saying. I'm not going to get into it because I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it with anybody. I've had friends of mine ringing me up and asking me questions and stuff. Don't want to talk about it, just want to get through it. We've all had canine companions. We've all had feline companions. And when they get very ill, when they are very old, it's very difficult to deal with. It's difficult for us to deal with. It's even more difficult when people want you to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, but I might not be around tomorrow. I might be. I might very well be. But if I'm not, I'll let you know, and we'll see how things go. In the meantime, we'll see how things pan out. That's it for me. Until next time, I suppose, look after yourselves and one another. Going out of the programme with the great Martha Reeves. Why not? Thanks for listening today. Glad I cheered you up. Didn't do much for me, Bye.